We're going to reconvene our meeting. Our first on the agenda is taking positive steps of service award.
All right. We have several of these. The first one is for Neil Ribel. So Neil, do you want to step forward? Brent is not here, so I will read this for Brent. Come on forward.
All the way. I'm good in front.
Brent Richter, I'm preparing this opportunity to strongly recommend Neil Ribel for his role in leading the district through the middle school HVAC upgrades. This project was originally slated for the summer of 2024 with a cost of approximately $350,000. Through Neil's professional outreach and connections with Slipstream, North American Mechanical, and Lodi Energy Services representative Anna Stevie, Neil worked diligently to prepare applications, maintain continued communication, and help implement a digital control system at the Lodi Middle School. The new digital control system, which replaces the outdated pneumatic control system, brings greater energy control and efficiency, climate stabilization, energy conservation, and financial savings to our district. This was all accomplished in advance of the original timeline and through grant funding, which allows the district to retain the referendum support of $350,000 for other projects. Congratulations to Neil, and thank you for your hard work and dedication on this project. Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you. Yeah, that was an interesting project for myself. I've never been through the whole grant situation, but it was fun. And we're still working, and we're doing the studies on it as of right now, making sure that it's doing what it's supposed to. I see a few middle school staff here. It does make controlling that building a whole lot easier. I can look up every day. I can check every classroom in that room and see what the temperatures are in that classroom. If it's pushing out heat, if it's cooling down like it's supposed to. And the old system with the old pneumatics, I think I had 17 points out of that whole building. Now I've got probably 60 or 65 different points that I can check the temperatures in it. And it was all grant money that went towards it.
Thank you so much for doing that.
So we're going to give Neil a bonus of $100,000. It's $100,000 mark. And positive step for service. So we're going to take a picture here in front of that.
Christine, come on up. So, I've recommended Christine Betcher, and so we recommend Christine Betcher for this recognition due to her work as the Cabusson terminal manager. In this role, she serves our students, our families, staff, and bus drivers. Some of the characteristics we appreciate most are her willingness to find solutions, her communication with us as administrators and with families, the standards she sets and maintains when it comes to providing a quality transportation experience, and her calm and consistent approach. We get the privilege to interact with Christine in some very challenging situations. Christine is a problem solver, which we truly appreciate. Thank you, Christine, for all you do to help our students stay safe, have a safe and successful start and end to their school days.
I'm just so lucky. I have so much support from the district. I couldn't ask for a better support system, so my job's easy when it comes to that kind of stuff, so I'm proud to be here.
Thank you so much. Great.
Let's take a picture.
Just giving out $100,000 tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I want everyone to know.
Thanks, Christine. And our last award winner tonight is I'd like to recognize Mr. Chott. He's the one who came from the farthest away, so we made him wait the longest. For taking positive steps for service award for the school district of Lodi. If it would not be for the vision and his drive to do his best for our students, we would not have the vibrant exchange program that we have today. He's a true lifelong learner who is always exploring ways to make our relationship stronger and more robust, as with the study tour that is now taking place. It is important that we need to continue to grow this program as a valuable asset to our school district. He helps to remind us that we need to focus on our similarities, not our differences. Are there differences between Supan, Bury, and Lodi? Absolutely, but our similarities easily outstrip our differences. He and I have spent time last night reminiscing about all the different students and staff members that have been impacted by this relationship between our two schools, and it's just truly amazing. So thank you, my friend, for all your hard work, for your vision and your passion. You have helped make Lodi a better place through your efforts. Thank you for being a guardian of Lodi pride. And I know you'll have something to say.
Of course. Thank you for your kind words, Mr. Bryony. Hello, everyone. The president and all the board member. So I'm honored to be here today again to make a speech and a small remark. And I would like to say 1,000 thanks to all the board members for your support about our wonderful programs between Lodi High School and Sungwon Ying School in Thailand, Banbury. And without you guys, we cannot do this. And I would like to say that you have got great principals in these 4 schools in Lodi district. And I would say that Lodi High School is one of the best schools that I have been visited, because we have, in Suphanburi, we have been doing the exchange program between Singapore, Australia, China, but we found that coming here is the best place because it's Lodi, and Lodi is in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is the place where great people live in. So we are lucky to have a chance to bring youngsters here, and they learn a lot of things. So thank you very much for your support to all the 4 schools and to Lodi communities. So such a wonderful place that we, again, lucky to be here. And I would like to say this. 2 years ago, we had the MOU resigning, and my director come over to sign the MOU here in Lodi. But we have the tradition of taking turns signing the MOU. So next year is the time for one of the big guys from Lodi to fly over to Thailand to re-sign the MOU. And it would be nice if you would let your district administrator would fly over to renew the MOU.
Talk to Melanie about this.
That is my request. So hopefully next year I'll see you in Thailand. It's your duty to do it.
You just do it overnight.
Overnight.
And I have done this before, a long time ago, but no one come over. I used to invite all the school board to come over to Thailand and visit our school. That would be nice.
My daughter has been there.
Yeah, and now I would like the mother to fly over to Thailand, okay? So let's sort of create a study tour of the school board members to fly over to Thailand. Make it happen, all right?
Very
But-
educational.
Yep, someday. I would like to see the school boards of Lodi to be in Thailand. But next year, get this guy over to Thailand.
Well, we are so grateful for you too. Thank you.
Yes.
You've given our students such an awesome opportunity. So thank you. And I know it's a lot of work. So thank you.
So we both work together. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get rich again.
You're gonna get rich again.
Okay,
Right there.
all right. And how about
Vince, how many years has it been?
What was that?
How many years?
17.
That's what I thought.
Since 2000, I think I'm right.
That's
2008.
the place my daughter's ever been.
Thank you. And
Yeah. And I should mention that he's actually getting 350,000 baht because that's the exchange rate.
In chocolate, JP, in chocolate.
Not in the, yeah, 350,000 chocolates, yeah, exactly. It's gonna represent plate.
Okay.
anyway, got small souvenir to fill that cabinet again. Alright?
Yes.
So, Sumuning School and Lodi High School. So, just a small gift to you.
Thank you so much. We are very appreciative of it. A good visit.
ขอบคุณครับ
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, so now we have a presentation, middle school forensics.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn this over to Michelle Howe. She brought some middle schoolers with her to do some forensics pieces.
They've practiced, I'm gonna kind of let them take over. So the middle school forensics program has been a strong program, kind of feeding the high school forensics program for many years. I think for at least 18 years is when I've been in Lodi, that the middle school forensic program has been around. We work with other local school districts, Poinet, Fall River, Columbus, sometimes McFarland, and Marshall. Yep, and so they bring their middle school students and we kind of rotate around to the different schools and do after-school meets. Lodi usually hosts because we have one of the largest amounts of students that are participating in it. And it's nice that we can host and a lot of our parents then can come as well. And so we have two pieces here tonight that students are going to present to you. We have a 6th grader and then a set of 7th grade boys. And then Lydia McGrath, when she heard that that we were doing this, she said, "Well, I want to do it." I said, "But you're in Washington, D.C." She said, "I don't care. I'll video myself." So I believe on your board minutes there is a video of Lydia with a little bit of Washington, D.C. background, but also some different. So I don't know if we'll have time tonight. I don't know if there's a time limit. But the boys, Simon Morgan and Grayson Neeb, are going to go first, and they have their introduction. Lead up to them.
Okay.
So you guys, just stand there and I would stand back a little bit, maybe, away from the table and chair, because you guys got some motions. Yeah, there you go.
Hello, I'm Grayson.
And I'm Simon.
Today we will be presenting Who's on First.
Who's on First, an old comedy sketch, and a cool aspect of it is the motion change as we go on.
Presented to you by Abbott and Costello.
Well, Costello, I'm going to New York with you. Bucky Harris, the Yankees manager, gave me a job as coaches for as long as you're on the team.
Look, Abbott, if you're the coach, you must know all the players.
I certainly do.
Well, then, you know I've never met the guys, so you'll have to tell me their names so I'll know who's playing on the team.
I'll tell you their names, but it seems to me because these ball players nowadays, very peculiar names.
You mean funny names?
Strange names, pet names, like Dizzy Dean,
His brother Daffy,
Daffy Dean,
and his French cousin,
French,
Gouffet.
Gouffet Dean. Well, let's see. We have in the bags who's on first, what's on second, I was on third.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
I say, who's on first, what's on second, I was on third.
You're the manager,
Yes.
and you're going to be the coach, too.
Yes.
And you don't know the fellows' names.
Well, I should.
Well, then who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The guy playing.
Who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's who.
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who.
Yes.
The guy on the first baseman.
Certainly.
Who's playing first?
That's right.
We pay off the first baseman every month. Who gets the money?
Every dollar of it.
All I'm trying to find out is the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The guy that gets
That's it.
who gets the money.
He does, every dollar of it. Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yes. What's wrong with that?
I want to know is when you sign up the first baseman, how does he sign his name?
Who?
The guy.
Who?
How does he sign?
That's how he signs it.
Who?
Yes.
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base.
No, what's on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
One base at a time.
Don't change the players around.
I'm not changing nobody.
Take it easy, buddy.
I'm only asking you who's the guy on first base.
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
What's the guy's name on first base?
No, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. I'm not talking
Now
about
how would
him.
I get on third base?
Well, I mentioned his name.
If I mentioned the third baseman's name, who did I say is playing third?
No, who's playing first?
What's on base?
What's on second?
I don't know.
He's on third.
Then I go back to third again. You stay off third base. Don't go off of it.
All right, what do you want to know?
Now who's playing third base?
Why do you insist on putting who on third base?
What am I putting on third?
No, what's in second?
Who on first?
I don't know.
Third base. Look at him, outfield.
Sure.
Left fielder's name.
Why?
Just thought I'd ask you.
What does I tell you?
Well, then tell me who's playing left field.
Who's playing first?
I'm not scared of infield. I want to know what the guy's name is in left field.
No, what's in second?
I'm not asking you who's in second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Third base.
Left fielder's name.
Why?
Because
Oh, he's center field.
we gotta have a pitcher on the team.
Sure.
Pitcher's name.
Tomorrow.
Don't want to tell me today?
Tell you now.
Then go ahead.
Tomorrow.
What time?
What time what?
What time tomorrow are you gonna tell me who's pitching?
Well, listen, who is not pitching?
I'll break your arm if you say who's on first. I want to know the pitcher's name.
What's on second?
I don't know. Third base. Got a catcher.
Certainly.
The catcher's name.
Today.
Today and tomorrow's pitching.
Now you got it.
We got a couple of days on the team. You know I'm a catcher too.
So tell me.
Now get behind the plate and I do some fancy catching. Tomorrow's pitching on my team and a heavy hitter gets up. Now the heavy hitter bites the ball. Me, being a good catcher, I'm going to throw the guy out at first. So I pick up the ball and I throw it to who?
That's the first thing you've said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
That's all you have to do.
It's throw the ball to first base.
Yes.
Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Look, if I throw the ball to first base, somebody's got to get it. Now who has it?
Naturally.
Who?
Naturally.
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 So I pick up the ball and I throw it to naturally.
No, you don't. Throw it on who?
Naturally.
That's different.
That's what I said.
You're not saying it.
I throw the ball to naturally.
Throw it to who?
Naturally.
That's it.
That's what I said.
You ask me.
I throw the ball to who?
Naturally.
No, you ask me.
Throw it on who?
Naturally.
That's it.
Same as you. Same as you. I throw the ball to who? Whoever it is drops the ball. The guy runs a second. Who picks up the ball and throws it to what? What throws it to I don't know, and I don't know throws it back to tomorrow. A triple play. Now another guy hits the long fly ball to Gus. Why? I don't know. He's on third and I don't give a crap.
What?
I don't give a crap.
Oh, that's our shortstop.
Guys, I have a question. Did you guys know that skit before you did it?
I did. He did.
Yeah. I haven't heard that for a long time. That was my grandpa's favorite. I'm sorry we're laughing. I know forensics is usually, but oh my
No,
god.
it's comedy, so.
You guys did
We did our
excellent.
job.
Yes, you did. Yes, that was awesome.
So there's multiple sections of pieces that the students can choose from. Grayson and Simon chose group interpretive. There's rules, they cannot look each other in the eye and they cannot use props. So all of their, it's all body language and vocal tone of voice there. There is poetry that students can do. They can write their own poetry or read poetry. They can do a demonstration speech, teaching someone how to do something. And we've got Aubrey here. Aubrey Rohde is a 6th grader. Aubrey did prose, which is a single person piece, and she can use a script. It doesn't have to be memorized. So Aubrey's a 6th grader.
My story is from a chapter book that my coach found and recommended it to me. So, Wayside School was accidentally built sideways. It was to be only 1 story high with 30 classrooms all in a row. Instead, it is 30 stories high with 1 classroom on each story. The builder said he was very sorry. It is said that the stories in this book are strange and silly. When I tell this story, you may think that I am strange and silly too. Chapter 1, Mrs. Gore from the book Wayside School by Louis Satchar. Mrs. Gore had a long tongue and pointed ears. She was the meanest teacher in Wayside School. She taught the class on the 30th story. If you children are bad, she warned, or if you answer a problem wrong, I'll wiggle my ears, stick out my tongue, and turn you into apples. Mrs. Gore didn't like children, but she loved apples. Joe couldn't add. He couldn't even count. But he knew that if he answered a problem wrong, he would be turned into an apple. So he copied from John. He didn't like to cheat, but Mrs. Gore had never taught him how to add. One day, Mrs. Gore caught Joe copying John's paper. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Joe into an apple. Then she turned John into an apple for letting Joe cheat. Hey, that isn't fair, said Todd. John was only trying to help a friend. Mrs. Gore wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Todd into an apple. Does anybody else have an opinion? She asked. Nobody said a word. Mrs. Gore laughed and placed 3 apples on her desk. Stephen started to cry. He couldn't help it. I do not allow crying in the classroom, said Mrs. Gore. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Stephen into an apple. For the rest of the day, the children were absolutely quiet, and when they went home, they were too scared to even talk to their parents. But Joe, John, Todd, and Stephen couldn't go home. Mrs. Gore just left them on her desk. They were able to talk to each other, but they didn't have much to say. Their parents were very worried. They didn't know where their children were. Nobody seemed to know. The next day, Kathy was late for school. As soon as she walked in, Mrs. Gore turned into an apple. Paul sneezed during class. He was turned into an apple. Nancy said, "God bless you," when Paul sneezed. Mrs. Gore wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Nancy into an apple. Terrence fell out of his chair. He was turned into an apple. Mauricia tried to run away. She was halfway to the door as Mrs. Gore's right ear began to wiggle. When she reached the door, Mrs. Gore's left ear wiggled. Mauricia opened the door and had one foot stepped outside when Mrs. Gore turned to an apple. Mauricia became an apple. Mrs. Gore picked up the apple from the floor and put it on her desk with the others. Then a funny thing happened. Mrs. Gore turned around and fell over a piece of chalk. The 3 Erics laughed. They were turned into apples. Mrs. Gore now had a dozen apples on her desk. Joe, John, Todd, Stephen, Kathy, Paul, Nancy, Terrence, Mauricia, and the 3 Erics, Eric Fry, Eric Bacon, and Eric Ovens. Louis, the art teacher, walked into the classroom. He had missed the children at recess. He had heard that Mrs. Gore was a mean teacher, so he came up to investigate. He saw the 12 apples on Mrs. Gore's desk. I must be wrong, he thought. She must be a great teacher if so many children bring her apples. He walked back down to the playground. The next day, a dozen more children were turned into apples. Louis, the art teacher, came back into the room. He saw 24 apples on Mrs. Gore's desk. There were only 3 children left in the class. She must be the best teacher in the world, he thought. By the end of the week, all of the children were apples. Mrs. Gore was very happy. Now I can go home, she said. I don't have to teach anymore. I won't have to walk up 30 flights of stairs ever again. You're not going anywhere, shouted Todd. He jumped off the desk and bought Mrs. Gore on the nose. The rest of the apples followed. Mrs. Gore fell on the floor, and the apples jumped all over her. Stop, she shouted, or I'll turn you into applesauce. But the apples didn't stop, and Mrs. Gore could do nothing about it. Turn us back into children, Todd demanded. Mrs. Gore had no choice. She stuck out her tongue, wiggled her ears, this time her left one first, then her right, and turned the apples back into children. All right, said Mauricia. Let's go get Louis. He'll know what to do. No, screamed Mrs. Gore. I'll turn you back into apples. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, and stuck out her tongue. But Jenny held up a mirror, and Mrs. Gore turned herself into an apple. The children didn't know what to do. They didn't have a teacher. Even though Mrs. Gore was mean, they didn't think it was right to leave her as an apple. But none of them knew how to wiggle their ears. Louis, the art teacher, walked in. Where's Mrs. Gore? He asked. Nobody said a word. Boy, am I hungry, said Louis. I don't think Mrs. Gore would mind if I ate this apple. After all, she always has so many. He picked up the apple, which was really Mrs. Gore, shined it up on his shirt, and ate it.
Thank you.
Nice job. So this year we had 38 middle schoolers participate in forensics. Between the coaches, we offered practices either before school or after school, depending on what worked best for the student and the family schedule. So we were able to get everyone a practice time that worked best amongst all their other things that they were doing. So it was a pretty great program, and thank you for supporting it. Lydia's on your computer, she's about 4 minutes. 3:58 to 4:02, depending on her speed there. I don't want to know what her video is, but I don't know if we want to watch it now or if you want to watch it on your own time.
Watch it now.
But thank
Should
you.
the community watch it?
So they can play sports and do forensics at the same time?
Yes, yep.
Nice.
So we'll, the coaches will come in before school to make sure that they can get their practice in before school, or if they're really busy after school, because we practice January, February, and March, and if they are in swim team, basketball, whatever, we can get it before school or after school if they're like, I don't want to come before school, I want to sleep in. So kind of works so everyone can participate, so.
Well, thank you.
Lydia,
Some of my
thank you.
greatest high school memories are forensics, so guys, stick with it, it's fun.
And thank you, coaches.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Lydia's an 8th grader. She's been in forensics ever since 6th grade. She's been a phenomenal speaker. The maximum points you can get each round is 21, and I think she scored perfect 21s all 3 years in all competitions. I think she's got straight 21. So she came to me, I think in September, and said, Mrs. Howe, I know what I'm gonna do for forensics this year. And I'm like, whoa, okay, we're starting in January, but okay. So she's very phenomenal and excited. She does On the Pulse morning, which is what Maya Angelou did right before Clinton's inauguration. So here's
And I don't want to brag, she's my niece.
That's right, I forgot about that. So she's in DC right now.
It's me. Hi, I'm Lydia McGrath, and I'm reading On the Pulse of Morning by Maya Angelou. On the Pulse of Morning was written in 1993 to kick off Clinton's presidency. It speaks of a world that needs to be reinvented and protected, and is still an important message in our day and age. On the Pulse of Morning by Maya Angelou. A rock, a river, a tree, hosts to species long since departed. Marked the mastodon, the dinosaur who left dried tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully, come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny, but seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long face down in ignorance, your mouths spilling words armed for slaughter. But the rock cries out to us today. You may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you a border country, delicate and strangely made proud, thrusting perpetually under siege. Your armed struggles of profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I, and the tree, and the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew, you still knew nothing. The river sang and sang song. There's a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock, so say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the Rowdy, the priest, the sheep, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear, they all hear, the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree. Speak to humankind today. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed-on traveler, has been paid for. You, who gave me my first name, you Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, you, the Shanty, the Yoruba, the crew, bought, sold, stolen, or riding on a nightmare praying for a dream. Here, root yourself beside me. I am that tree planted by the river which will not be moved. I the rock, I the river, I the tree, I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands. Mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here, on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the grace, you may have the courage to look up and out upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country. No less to Midas than the medicine, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here, on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out into your sister's eyes, into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
That's it. Thank you for supporting the middle school forensics program.
Thank you so much.
so
Been a
much
great
for
season once
coming.
again.
Thanks for
Awesome.
coming, guys. Okay, now for the fun stuff, right? All right, so we have our consent agenda items. We have our, oh, I'm sorry, no
Public
public
input?
input, correct?
No public.
Okay. Sorry, excuse me for that. All right, so we have our vouchers. We have our 2 fundraiser requests, or 1, actually, I should say, I lied. We have no fundraiser reports. We have 2 field trip requests. We have our curriculum committee, the powerlifting club. Our personnel committee is our speech and language services, and our facility and finance committee was social schools for EDU contract and our ESSER funds. We have a request for a Wednesday night activity. We have 3 resignations: LCAP program coordinator, volunteer swim coach, and middle school assistant volleyball coach. We have a new head football coach, and we have a new softball volunteer coach. We do not have anything for crew tonight. And, sorry. For regular staff, we have LCAT program director, director of building and grounds contract extension, primary school special education assistant, level 3, recommendation to change 2 English positions from 1.0 FTE to 0.5 FTE, and increase from 5.75 to 6 hours a day through the end of the 2023-24 school year.
I will motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the additional approval of an increase from 5.75 to 6 hours a day through the end of the 2023-24 school year for Terrace Somerville.
I'll second that.
Motion by Christie, second by Terry. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, now we go on to our administrative reports, starting with Lodi High School.
All right, thanks, Heather. First of all, in the classroom, there are a couple classes I wanted to highlight. Oral communication, which we know, most of us know as speech class, and they've been doing some demonstration speeches. So I got an opportunity to learn how to change a tire and learn how to change a subwoofer, which was really cool. So I appreciate Renee Potter and everything that she does for our mostly juniors and seniors, and you can see the course catalog description. And then advanced placement biology, taught by Carol Tenbarge. The explanation of what they were doing in that class on that day, I did not write. You can probably tell. But PTCI, Promega Corporation, was in there working with those students, and they did an amazing day working with an individual that had taught some things about cells. So I really appreciate Carol bringing that corporation into school to give our kids some opportunities. And then again, you can see the course catalog description for that class. So we have a lot of students that do a lot of great things in school. I've found out, just learning a lot about our kids, that they do a lot of great things outside of school. So I have 2 juniors I wanted to highlight, Connor Scrum and Ryder Riddell. So Connor a junior, recently raced in the Wisconsin Snowboarding State Championship this Friday, and, well, it was a while ago. And it is the largest state-held snowboarding competition in the United States. He was unanimously voted by the coaches in the conference to receive a sportsmanship award because of his leadership. He is also ranked 15th in the nation in both slalom and giant slalom for his age group, which I thought was really impressive. And then most of you are probably familiar, because you're from Wisconsin, with the World Championship snowmobile derby that happens in the Eagle River every winter. Well, we had a student that competed in the 60th World Championship competition. Unfortunately, because of some mechanical issues, he was unable to finish the race, but just to be able to qualify for that prestigious event was pretty impressive for a rider. So I wanted to make note of that. We just had the spring play this past weekend. It was called Boeing, and if you had an opportunity to go, it was very, very funny. I wanted to thank Erica Bardwell and Miss Ellen Kaiser, who helped direct that play. Caleb, who is not here, I was going to give him props too. He's very involved in our school and obviously in the school board, but he ran the lights and sound for that spring play, so I appreciate him. As you know, we have a Thai study tour that's happening, and we had our welcoming ceremony today. They will be here for 2 weeks. Moving on, we do have a big test tomorrow. So we have the junior ACT and practice ACT. So all of our juniors will be in school. We have almost 90 9th and 10th graders that have signed up for the practice ACT. I wanted to thank this group of people that we call the Dream Team. We've named ourselves, actually. Matt Horan, Grant Lemke, Megan Kinnanen, Jason Marshall, Adir Schrader, Nick Franciscovich, Nick Carls, and Elise Kearney, and the SPED team for all the work that they've done to help prepare our students for that big day, again, which is tomorrow, and that is statewide. We also have the pre-ACT Secure that is going to be coming up here on Wednesday, April 10th. It is a late start day for our 11th and 12th graders, so they will be starting at 11 a.m., but we look forward to that, and we'll be doing some planning in the next couple weeks for that. You can see our students of the month for the month of January. And then the next part of my report is recognizing our individual state qualifiers. So we had several state qualifiers in wrestling, and Doug Haft, our band director, came to me last year and he says, I have a great idea for individual athletes, and that's a drum line. So we were able to take our students through the school. All of our other students were out in the hallways cheering them on. So those individual wrestlers were able to walk through. It was really nice for them. Brought a lot of excitement for an individual going on to state. And we'll continue to do that for some of our individual athletes. I also linked protocols and procedures, so administrative team kind of came together at the high school to come up with some procedures for individuals qualifying for state. We share those with coaches and other people, and we're going to continue to recognize them in the appropriate
I have to say,
ways.
I think that's awesome that you had to come up with protocol and procedures for our athletes going to state so often, you know?
And not individual athletes, but also teams.
Yeah, no, teams, that's what I'm saying.
And
That's
working with our
the
first responders, they want to drive the fire trucks out every time. So we wanted to be consistent, try to be consistent for our families and for our individual athletes and our teams. As far as if they win a state championship, what is that going to look like? When they're going off to state, what does that look like?
I think it's a great idea.
We also consider like mock trial and forensics, even though they're not WI affiliated. And
Yeah, I shouldn't have said athletes, anybody going to state though.
Yes, figuring out the best ways to make them feel really special going off and accomplishing the things that they've accomplished. So we do have an Optimist Candidate Forum that's going to be coming up on Wednesday, March 20th. So I appreciate the Optimist Club always including our students. Right now, we have about 4 classes that will be attending that forum, and hopefully we're going to get a few more.
And I bet there's one question that's gonna come up from the students too.
Yeah, and you know exactly what
I
it's
know
gonna be.
exactly what that
What is it
question's
gonna
gonna be.
When can we get open campus talk?
Open campus.
Every candidate says, oh, absolutely.
And then they talk to administration, they realize they're probably.
Can you crush our dream? No, I'm kidding.
Speaking of state competition, we did have some individual athletes that went on to state wrestling. So seniors Henry Keppen, Isaiah Groskoff, Mason Lane, Brady Dorshorst, and freshman Zoe Lick. She was the first girl in the history of Lodi High School to go on to the state tournament, so we're really proud of her. There was mock trial team that competed. I know this was going to be on Caleb's report, so you probably can read a little bit about it, plus solo ensemble, which had an outstanding weekend a few weekends ago.
Give Caleb a shout out though.
Okay, I will give Caleb a shout out because, especially at mock trial, he was considered one of the top lawyers in the state,
Yes.
student lawyers in the state, so he was outstanding. And the entire team, led by their coaches, did a great job. They were 2-2 on the weekend at state, which is a big accomplishment. There was also the Visual Arts Classic Capital Conference Art Show that went on, so you can read a little bit about that. And then you can also see Forensics' upcoming schedule, and they will have an opportunity to go to two different state events on April 6th and April 19th. And that is the high school.
Busy.
Yes, lots of stuff going on, of course.
Thanks, Joe.
And I know I told the board before, but just for the community, Caleb's not here because he's competing tonight in district forensics.
Correct. All right, thank you.
All right, curriculum.
The board's curriculum committee met here in March, and we had Connor Anderson come and give us an overview of the youth apprenticeship program and just updates as that program continues to grow over the past 5 years. In his estimate, we've moved from approximately 10 students participating in youth apprenticeship program to this school year we have 37 students participating. In addition, Connor was able to share with us the most recent CISA 5 Youth Apprenticeship magazine. I shared a digital copy of that with you, and it's really neat because you will see some Lodi students highlighted in that magazine. So we continue to have discussions about how to support that program as we move forward and what we would like to see as far as opportunities that we can build within that program. Also, we had Jen Morgan, our ESL specialist here in the school district of Lodi, come, and she provides an annual update to the board's curriculum committee every year about the different types of services that we are obligated by both state statute and federal regulations to provide to our English language learners. And she touches base at about this time on the number of students that we're seeing here locally that would be identified as English language learners. This school year, we tested 41 students on the state required access assessment. All of those students falling into a range that would be identified as English language learners. In addition, we have 18 students that are on monitoring. That means they have exited the parameters of kind of our English language learner identifier, but we still monitor their progress within our system, or they're just simply too young. They're 4K students and haven't started to they haven't hit kindergarten yet where they would take the access test. And then the next part, I just wanted to, as I typically do every now and then, give an update on our Community Connection Business Partnership PPG program that continues to go strong. And you can see the pictures here that have been posted recently on our Facebook page identifying some of those partnerships.
Thanks, Nick. Okay.
All right. So if people, through the resignations and the hiring, so Paula Engie will be retiring and Brian Bilsey will be taking her place. So that's what is going on with that. And so the report for March 2024 is LCAT participated in the Sauk Prairie Healthcare Community Health Needs Assessment on February at the Lodi Clinic. Medical staff from Sauk Prairie Healthcare, Lodi School District staff, and other community leaders participated in this event. As a result of the assessment, Sauk Prairie Healthcare will further examine future needs of our community and create a strategic plan to address those needs. Been talking a lot about mental health, etc. So, LCAT attended a virtual meeting held by the Alliance for Wisconsin Youth, AWY. The Alliance for Wisconsin Youth is a network of more than 100 coalitions statewide focused on building healthy communities through the prevention of substance use. This work is supported by the Wisconsin Department of Health and Services, Division of Care and Treatment Services. The purpose of the meeting was to network with other coalitions, get state updates for the director of AY, and to answer any questions about current grant opportunities. AY supports the SOAR grant for LCAT that provides medication lockboxes and community engagement opportunities. LCAT met with middle school life skills teacher Brian Bauer on Staff Collaboration Day in February. The purpose of this meeting was to talk about how LCAT can collaborate with the life skills program in middle school and how grant money can be used to support some of the classroom strategies around alcohol and other drug prevention. Through an AODA grant that LCAT currently has, they will be able to provide the life skills class with Botvin's life skills books as well as other AODA current materials to be used in the classroom. Brian and Brian will continue to meet during collaboration days in the future. The LCAT Coalition met on Wednesday, February 28th at 9 a.m. The agenda included Narcan training, upcoming safety fair, which happens when middle school starts. It's actually middle school I'm blanking on the word, when they first come that day. Stride with Lodi Pride, partnerships with PTO.
Orientation.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, see, a past student filled in the word I said. That's what I hate when I was teaching classes. They always just gave me the word. Okay. So the agenda included Narcan training, upcoming safety fair, Stride with Lodi Pride, partnerships with PTO and wellness, because we have a PTO again. Thank you. Lodi Pride Awards and the TDAP training. Our next LCAT meeting will take place on Wednesday, April 28th at 9 a.m. Everyone is invited to attend. It's our LCAT Awards event.
Thanks, Terry. And Caleb, like we said, is not here, but I know that his student report included a lot that Joe already covered, so thanks, Joe, for kind of doing that too. And Adria is not here. She is busy this week. And a primary school.
Yeah, good evening. So we are starting to look ahead to next year already. So beginning with some class list planning, we will go through a series of meetings as teams to really try to look and identify the best placement for students. We do have an optional placement form where parents can help share some information as well. And again, that's just a nice added piece that we can use as we're trying to, again, create those class lists. The keys to literacy training, we're going to talk about in a little bit, so I'll hold up on that until we get to that presentation. We just had our primary school families and the students made their flag Blue Devil, and that was a huge hit. And so I'm working with the social media to work on, putting those pictures out and getting that all presented.
And that was the entire school that did that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
'Cause I had somebody ask about it on Facebook, and I wanted to make sure I was there.
Yep, so all students 4K through second grade have that, and then, the idea is to be starting to send those emails to me, and then I will be sending it to social media.
We should see if we can send one to, when they go back to Thailand, we can send
I
flags.
was gonna say, I'll be excited to see
Flag.
That's a really
where
great
they all
idea.
end up.
Yeah, that's a,
You know, 'cause
I have 3 people that I can send to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know someone from
I
them?
know.
Do you have access to them? Will you see them tonight?
Yeah, exactly, they're home up there. And I just wanna do a shout out to our families that helped with the Scholastic Book Fair. We had a really great turnout for that, and we're gonna have a buy one, get one, sale for our families, May 6th. And also just wanted to do a shout out to the parents that helped with providing the meals at the conferences, and I've listed their names there as well.
Thank you.
It's really nice of them.
Lodi Elementary OSC.
Hello, thank you. So a couple things that I highlighted in my report. First of all, not only do we work really hard to provide students with high quality instruction and support and challenge, but we also provide them with some other opportunities outside of that curriculum to learn and grow and be challenged. And so I highlighted some of the amazing things that have been happening, of people coming into our buildings and us also going out to continue to learn in and around our community. And then also thinking about Pillar 2 and nurturing the whole student, just really recognizing that this is such a team effort. And I'm thankful for all the people who play a part of that in the district, but also within our building, specifically Carrie Barr, our school counselor, and then also our staff who work really hard every day to do that, but also our students. It's, we can work as much as we want as staff to help elicit those skills and build those skills, but that doesn't impact our environment unless our students apply those skills. And so I included a little picture of some students applying those skills of caring for each other. And then also just highlighted, I just needed this reminder recently, and so I also shared it in our family newsletter, but just thought I'd put it in here too, just the importance of having conversations and just also recognizing the key partnerships that we have with families. We know that the things that happen outside of school impact school, and so we're just very grateful for the families that we get to work with and all the work that they do on a daily basis to help their students be ready for school and get the most out of their learning experiences, and just some opportunities to maybe connect over parts of your day. So, and then
That's never a bad reminder, right?
never a bad reminder, right? We need to slow down
Yeah.
and recognize who's around us. And then also something that we did that's new this year. If you come into the building, you'll see in the entryway there's a TV, and we have announcements going on there. We have pictures of what students are doing, and it's just really fun. We have, there's a student in mind right now who comes every morning. The first thing he does is he checks to make sure, waits for it to flip through to see what the breakfast is and lunch is, because that's really why he's coming to school. And then other people just going to see, wait for their picture to show up, right? So they heard that the picture's on, they're waiting to see it. We also have TV in the cafeteria that does the same thing, and then also has some questions for them to think about or some ways for them to connect at their table with the people who are there eating with them.
That's a great idea.
And just ways to foster those conversations and collaboration. A big shout out goes to Kathy Klinke, our administrative assistant, for all her work on that. And then I have highlighted our third, fourth, and fifth grade Lodi Guardians of Lodi Pride. For this, these pictures were for January, which was determined to be our best. We just finished up February, which was empathetic and encouraging, and so we'll have those in the next board report. And then going forward from here until the end of the year, we are just going to highlight Guardians of Lodi Pride. And so how we do this within each classroom is there's a survey that each classroom has, and they get to, students vote through that survey on who they recognize showing those characteristics. So it's not us just picking, it's students giving them voice and choice as well. And that's, I think, enough for now. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Everybody's so busy. And Derek, middle school principal, is in DC.
Yeah.
With Lydia, right?
He could do that nice little thing there.
Yeah.
Speaking for the crowd.
All right, district administrator report.
Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to highlight, which we talked about already, was our Thai study exchange program, and that's a little different than our cultural exchange program. It happens in the fall, which is 3 weeks long, and we do more cultural, more visits and things like this. This is a study tour, so kids are in classes. They're in a physical education class, they're in a STEAM class, they take an oral communications class. So we just really want to give a shout out, first of all, to those teachers for taking on that additional duty, but then also to all the host families. I talked to the student body today during the welcoming ceremony and just encouraged them, people, to open up your homes, and that's what really drives our exchanges. And it's been a little struggle here lately to find people to open their homes. So, and it's just such a life-changing experience. You know, it's one of those things you're kind of hesitant to do it, and you're like, oh, why did I? But once you have a student, you are now connected for life, right? And yeah, it's a short time. So if you, and again, some people can't. You don't have the room or things like that. But then you can always sign up to be a buddy or help out in some other way. So we just encourage it. It's such unique. People just don't. It's unique to Lodi that we have 3 vibrant exchanges. Most places don't have one, and we have 3 for our size. So it's phenomenal. And our connection with Thailand has been phenomenal since 2008, and it's going strong. As Joe mentioned, the spring play, for those of you who didn't see it, I'm sorry. It was awesome. It was very entertaining, and excellent job. They overcame a lot to put on that show, so just hats off to the director, to everybody behind the scenes, and then obviously to actors and actresses who were on the stage. They did a phenomenal job. It was awesome. As we mentioned, Mr. Pertzborn is in Washington, D.C. We currently have 65 8th grade students and 6 staff in Washington, D.C. What a great opportunity. Again, we offer our students every single year. I hear so many people, adults that I talk to, who've never been to Washington, D.C. Here in Lodi, most of our kids have, right, and have that opportunity. So it's a really great opportunity. And finally, we will be observing spring break the week of March 25th through 29th, so all building offices will be closed, including district office, from Friday, March 22nd at 4 p.m. and reopen the morning of April 1st.
Perfect. Board president report. I don't know about you, but I'm loving this weather, and that comes from a girl that loves snow. It helps moods and motivations and spring sports seasons. I always love the transitions between all the co-curricular activities. Ending seasons can be so intense, and everyone is working to achieve their season goals, while the beginning of seasons comes with new goals, aspirations, and fresh starts. Congratulations to everyone that has or is finishing their activity, and good luck to all that are starting a new co-curricular. I am always so proud of all the activities that our district has to offer. Students continue to work hard, keep up those grades, and continue to make all of us proud. Speaking of this great weather, I'm so glad that our Thailand students are visiting us when we are having this gorgeous weather. I want to say thank you so much to the host families for sharing your home to our Thailand guests. I also want to say thank you to everyone that is involved in making our Thailand exchange possible. What an amazing opportunity to be a part of. I know there is a lot of time and effort involved in the planning and hosting process. You are literally giving our students and community a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I would also like to say thank you to all the staff for their hard work, time, and effort for the Act 20 reading legislation. I know it is very involved work, and we appreciate what you're doing for our kids. I would also like to thank Nick Carls for seeing what was coming and already having a plan before it became official, for training sessions and financially as well. Our district was able to pay for what the state was requiring of us and had time set aside for the training of our staff, and that is all due to pre-planning. Nick, all the administration, and the teachers all working together for our kids makes we, as a community, grateful for what you are doing to give our kids the best opportunities, whether it be the Act 20 training or the everyday support that you give our students. I will mention it again, we have an election coming up. I beg of you, please ask questions, don't assume, and make your voice heard by voting. We are so fortunate to live in a community where you can reach out to the school board candidate and converse with them. With pros, there are always cons. Living in a small community, as you know, there is always a lot of hearsay. Our decisions that we make in this room will affect your children. You deserve to feel that your opinion matters to us and you feel heard and represented in our discussions. I will never forget receiving a phone call before I was elected and having a very pleasant conversation with someone that shared different views from me on numerous subjects. But after discussing things, when it came down to it, she told me that she had confidence in me to make the right decisions for our kids, and she planned on voting for me. I always think back to that if we never talked, she might have not felt comfortable with me being in this position. Communication is key to a caring relationship, a successful school district, and a thriving community working together. Good luck to all the candidates. I will never be able to express my gratitude enough for being on this board. I feel like I should be saying it every day, so I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but thank you. All right. And now we have a discussion on school fees.
Yeah, so this is the time the district starts looking ahead to next year. One of the areas that needs to be set is our school fees. The Facility and Finance Committee reviewed fees in February and then in March, and they moved forward to the full board with recommendation approval of the fees as listed.
With no change to that.
I was just gonna say, yeah, no changes. I'll make a motion to move to approve the school district of Lodi's school fees as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Sarah, second by Adam. Any more discussion?
The only discussion that I would add to that is that a majority of the fees are unchanged, but people will notice that the lunch and the food fees increased slightly. So I think that mainly had to do with the cost of milk. But everything else, we felt, because there had been a recent increase in fees within, I don't know, a year or two perhaps, that we were to leave everything else where it was. So,
Yes, thank you.
nominal
Yeah.
increase in
Good for clarification, thank you.
food program, but everything else stayed the same.
Isn't it true that we don't have control over the food program?
Yeah, the state helped set that.
Right, they said.
Well, thanks for that.
I mean, a dime. That was the,
Yeah.
I understand a dime is a dime, but it's nominal.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone? Thanks, Angie. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, summer school classes.
So
This
we have summer
looks
school
awesome.
classes, yeah, so I'm gonna turn over.
What a great,
I wanna go to summer school.
what a great selection.
Yeah, so yeah, and you can see the selection, I don't see the report that Julie specifically looking there, but I do wanna highlight on our website too, that you can see, Emma Newmeyer's done an outstanding job getting that all organized for our families. But we have a wide selection of classes, a lot of repeats from last year, but some new things as well. And so, yeah, we are ready, we're gearing up, very excited about the coming summer.
I will say too that there are some resources that are new this year on there to just help families with summer school, whether it's your schedule planning or how to register. That I think we've already got some feedback from families that has been helpful in their initial planning. But yeah, if you go to the summer school website, if you go to our district website and go to schools, summer school has its own page as well within that. So that's a really good resource for you. But yeah, we're excited about what we have to offer. We have some really good interest from staff within the district, and so we're really excited about what we can continue to offer this year.
Registration begins March 18th, so mark your calendars for that.
I'm excited to see Summer Saunter's still on there and Mr. McNeil continuing. All three of my kids did that from the very beginning when it started, as long as they could every summer, and they absolutely loved it.
No, there's a lot on there, so thank you guys, and thank you, Emma, for doing all that too.
I'll make a motion to approve the summer school courses as presented.
Second that.
Motion by Sarah, second by Terry. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, our Act 20 implementation.
As Heather mentioned, the state of Wisconsin passed some new reading legislation within the past year, which comes with a significant amount of requirements for our school district. We kicked off the staff portion of our training of Act 20 this past Friday. I'm going to turn over to Dr. Carls to walk through the implementation of this new legislation and what it looks like in Lodi.
So 2023 Wisconsin Act 20, it was signed into law by Governor Evers on July 19th, 2023. Right there you can see various, thank you, things that it hits on. I'm going to touch base on just about 9 of the really big rock items, but no, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of little things that we have to do that's even outside of the things that I'm going to touch on here. I know the board's curriculum committee has seen this presentation before, and I'm going to kind of use this just to prompt and give you some updates. And the hope is that we'll continue to come back to you periodically and give you updates as the progress that we're making. As a district, I appreciate the kind words before. I appreciate the planning with the board's curriculum committee around this. I appreciate the support from the full board around this and the admin team. We've done a lot of planning around this to put ourselves in a good spot as a district, I think. So first, you're going to hear the term science-based early literacy instruction, or maybe the science of reading. And when you think about the legislation as a whole, to me, the heart of it is these items right up here, which define science-based early literacy instruction as noted in the legislation. And we really call these, when we're talking as an admin team, we call these the Big Nine. And so we're always referencing the Big Nine. Are we meeting the Big Nine? Do we have systematic and explicit instruction in the Big Nine throughout that early stage of students' reading instruction, which would be like kindergarten through 3rd grade? And so we're constantly coming back and trying to anchor ourselves to these and vetting our systems against these things. And so this is what they want every district doing, and these are important things. And so when we reference those science-based early literacy instruction or science of reading, this is really what we're talking about. So the first one I want to talk about in the legislation, there's curricular implications. So the first one, districts must provide science-based early reading instruction. We talked about that. That's like, you have to do that. DPI will maintain on its website a list that includes recommended curricular resources, and today the Joint Finance Committee met and reviewed recommended resource lists for curricular materials from both the Early Literacy Council and the Department of Public Instruction. And because of the short turnaround on the time frame for some of these legislative actions, they ultimately approved today a really small list, like 3 things. But if you've watched what has happened in other states, or even, let's say, nationally with something like Ed Reports, it usually starts with a small list and then it grows as companies identify like the rubrics the states are using and how to adjust their products to fit that rubric. So if anything right now for us, that's just good information that we have as we continue to kind of look at different resources that are out there. But we're in a pretty good spot right now with our recent adoptions at the or at the 3-5 level and things we've been using for the past few years at the K2 level, but we'll continue to vet that out as we go through the trainings. Number 2, you may have heard this, prohibits districts from purchasing curricular instructional materials that include the 3 queuing system. And you might be wondering, like, what is the 3 queuing system? It's really what happens when a student comes to an unknown word in text. So they approach the unknown word in text, and if their first prompt by the instructor is to A, look at the first letter and make a guess. B, look at the picture and see if there's a picture clue and make a guess. Or C, just use the context clues to make a guess. That's the 3 queuing system. That's where the legislation is really trying to get districts to move away from that type of instruction as your first few prompts for the student, and to make sure that your instructional materials do not include those types of prompts. And so the first thing you want to do when a student comes to an unknown word is rely on your phonics skills that you're teaching the students. Read through the word, look for those blends, look for the vowel sound, try the long vowel sound, the short vowel sound, and using all of those skills when it comes to an unknown word first. Because what they were finding is that when students relied on the 3 queuing system, when they later on in their educational journey got to these longer multi-syllabic words, they couldn't rely on those skills. And they didn't have the phonics toolkit in their pouch to help them decode those skills. So we're really trying to get towards it. The good thing for Lodi is we have vetted our instructional materials. Anything that did previously reference the 3 queuing system, we've gotten rid of. Teacher manuals, things like that. If they had books, just books we could put in our library, books that we could put in our book room, we kept that stuff. It wasn't just throw everything out. We parceled through it, got rid of anything that mentioned the 3 queuing system, and we're moving forward with identified best practices. Okay, so we're in a good place right now with that. Number 3, there's professional learning implications. So 1, the state is hiring 64 statewide literacy coaches that will be contracted by DPI and really facilitated by the CSAs. The likelihood that we'll gain access to that level of support is not really there. It's usually going to be given to the districts in most need of that. And given our current state assessment scores, that probably is not going to end up being a service we will get. But we are really focused on number 4 here. All teachers who provide early reading instruction, as well as principals and reading specialists, will be required to take a specific level of training. So we've, as a district, identified the keys to literacy training. And just a reminder with that, that's 36 hours of module time and 12 and a half hours of facilitated time. That's a requirement on districts that is not funded by the states. We're also very fortunate that we really were careful with our ESSER funds, and we had some of our federal ESSER funds left over that we could spend on that. We kicked off our first day of training last week, Friday, for keys with our any teacher K-5 who teaches reading in some manner to students. We're involved in that training. And I'm going to let Amy and Eric talk a little bit about what that looked like. I don't know if you want to go to the, I got the clicker. We'll go to the next one. We got some pictures there. Can you tell us?
So so we actually, it was for teachers 4K through 5th grade, and we wanted to, as they were going back to school, we invited them to dress like a college student or wear their alma mater. So they came in, and we had some special little things to help them as they were going back to taking notes, some utensils that Eric and I like, and some notebooks and things, and had some breakfast and treats, but really just trying to get them excited, about it.
They look way too nice, nicely dressed for college students. I've seen these kids, they go in their pajamas.
And Eric, where did you graduate from?
So, yeah, this was an epic fail on my part. I couldn't find any alumni gear, so I had to go back to some good colors. So I went to Pittsville School District in central Wisconsin, and we are purple and gold. And then I also went to Stevens Park. So, but and then we also, another piece of it, if you want to go to the next slide, I think there's some more pictures. It was just really neat to have staff together, even though, like we mentioned, this is a required training. We've been really impressed by the attitude of staff towards 48 and a half hours added onto their plates. And, as far as, like you mentioned with Nick, just the way that the administration has tried to do this in a manner that is mindful of the lift it is on staff, and at the same time, also seeing this as an opportunity. One thing we talked about with staff was, even though they chose not to fund this training, they did say that you need to get it. So that means that they see you as a key part of this adjustment of this training, right? They are invested in you, even if they didn't do it with dollars. And so it was something that staff, we've been really impressed with the way that they've got going on this right away. And so we're excited to see all that we learned together and how we can apply it to what we're doing here in Lodi.
It was a pretty, I mean, we've done our first 3 hours, so the first 2 modules. And I just, yeah, like Eric said, I'm completely impressed, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is the Lodi staff, but they are leaning into this, and it was interesting after I did the first module. And again, we all are required to go through it as well, so we're learning right alongside. And I went through and checked in on all the teachers, went through the building, and all of them, you know, were deep into their doing, smiling about it, and just, again, I think it's something you can look at it 2 ways, and Eric did a great job presenting kind of how you can look at this, your presence as far as going to it. And I think our teachers are seeing it as an opportunity to learn and to grow and together on this. So, yeah, just completely impressed with them.
Yeah, printing and laminating materials, they learned about this on Friday this morning and
Already using this stuff.
already using it.
So, it's awesome.
There was a lot more energy and smiling than any 8 a.m. Friday class that I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, our staff are awesome, and their positive attitudes really help. I also want to give a shout out, so we have 3 teacher leaders, so Anita Thorpe and Sue Chambers and Katie Greer. They're going through the training ahead of everybody else, and then coming to these sessions to support. So they're working with CISA 5 right now. They're about 50% of the way through the training, which is so helpful to us because they're sitting in the room and giving advice, saying, okay, you're gonna hit some sections that are gonna be a really heavy lift because it's heavy text heavy, a lot of reading. Here's some sections that maybe are supplemental. Here's a good supplemental piece. Here's a not so great supplemental piece when you're gonna try to stay on that time commitment. Don't get sucked down this rabbit hole and just some tips that I think helped us in the early lift make it successful. So I have to give a lot of props to them because they're putting that time in outside of school to do that.
So, Nick, I have a quick question. So, and I could ask this in a curriculum meeting, but, so parents, you know, like, I think of being a grandparent and reading with a grandchild. We learned the 3 queuing system.
Yeah.
That's how we were taught. So
So I was taught to read too.
yeah, and so how do we, you know, like, kind of turn parents and grandparents around when they're reading at home?
So right now, and I think Amy would be able to kibitz in on this as well, but starting at the primary school level already, you'll feel it when you have students who are going through those levels. It's gonna feel different, the types of texts they get or the curriculum materials they get. So for example, with our phonics to reading program, a nightly assignment for students right now is to read their blending lines, which are, you'll see that as a parent, you're coaching them on very specific aspects of deciphering words, whether you're working on blends or certain, you know, long vowel sound, short vowel sound. So it's different than just you get a book home and it's read. You're gonna get homework home that's going to say, okay, this is what you're working on, very skill specific with students. I do think that's an area we can build though. I think we can build additional communication tools to teach families of like how to prompt correctly and things like that at home. Because inadvertently, you probably are gonna do some of that stuff,
Yeah,
just
you kinda
relying on
revert
how you were
back.
taught.
Yeah.
But the books, like you said, that the kids are coming home with are the decodable readers and things that the kids are much more successful reading because they've had that phonics instruction that helps them know, you know, the skills that are all aligned to that. And the teachers are doing a great job too of that communication with families of how do you help support your child with whether it's the blending lines or the decodable reader. But really the biggest thing is to sound it out. When you ask, using that as your number one cue that's what teachers are using, that I'm using all of this, is sound it out.
That's easier to understand than don't use 3 queuing.
Yes, yeah.
Sounds good.
So an example is, I have my daughter's in kindergarten right now, and even when she brings home a decodable text, it'll have a picture in it, but there's a little note that comes home with it where there's a slip of paper and it says to myself or my wife, cover up the picture, when she turns the page, cover up the picture with this slip, have her read it, and then uncover the picture.
Okay.
Which, you know, that's just a nice tip for the parent.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they're not looking at the picture trying to guess based on that, they're using their phonics skills. There we go.
Oh, too far.
Oh, that,
There,
does not want you to see that page.
Here we go. Assessment implications, so starting with the 24-25 school year, universal screening reading assessment will be used by the state. This is gonna be new. So every student in grades 4K through third grade is now going to have to be given an additional, 4K through second grade, an additional state assessment, or a new state assessment that they would have never gotten before, and that'll happen fall, winter, spring. So it's a screener. The only thing is, we don't know what the screener is yet. And so there is working with the vendor to get that set up, there is the training piece for teachers, there is the understanding that diagnostic. But based on that information, how a student scores triggers other things, like a student may need to be provided certain levels of intervention from our reading specialists or others in the building. The student may need to have a created personalized reading plan for them based on how they fall. So there's a lot of dominoes that are coming that we need to know what that screener is, and DPI is trying to determine that right now. So that's an assessment implication. I would also say, so this number 6, the diagnostic, also any student who falls below the 25th percentile has to take a diagnostic assessment. We're covered with that already because we use the iReady in the school district of Lodi, so that one's checked off. We're good with that one. Other districts have to develop, implement, and publish an early literacy remediation plan. That's basically, we have to put our full reading plan on our district web page for parents to be able to access, and what do we do if a student struggles? Those two things need to be on our web page and be in a very specific format as dictated by DPI to meet the legislative requirements. We're lucky in that Anita Thorpe, one of our second grade teachers, sits on the DPI council that is creating the template for that right now. So she comes back and is coaching our team. We're getting some inside information, starting to put that all together already. We don't have to really wait too far down the line because she's giving us tips on all that. Also, those personalized reading plans have to fit a very specific template, and Anita already has the early access to all that stuff. So she's been working with us. We're very lucky that Anita's on that, because we're starting to be able to put that stuff together before, getting it end of the school year, then having to spend all summer. We're starting to get a look at that stuff now, which
It's
is
really
awesome.
nice that they make all these rules, but they don't have their own stuff ready.
It was just
right.
Part of it's the timelines, right? So they put them together a really tight timeline. So even when you go back to the Literacy Council, looking at curriculum, and now there's been kind of a fight between them and the DPI, it's really based on that the Literacy Council didn't have enough time. They just didn't have enough time built into, they, just like any other profession, right? You always, from the outside looking in, you're thinking, well, this will be easy, they just need to do this.
Yeah.
They forget about all the steps that it takes. And so they didn't do a very good job. So like, for example, the screener, there is some talk about them pushing the first one off because of that problem. Like, they haven't picked one yet. And by the time they pick one, people are gonna be out of school for the summer. And so how are you gonna get people trained in time to do one early in the fall?
In conjunction when they're doing that the keys training.
Keys training at the same time, right? So, it's a heavy lift for districts.
No, and that's why, thank you guys.
And it's an unfunded mandate, right? And so, they have a record surplus, at the state level. They did this and didn't fund it, which is really frustrating.
Yeah.
But again, we were very fortunate of how we used our ESSER funds. This board has been very, very frugal with our ESSER funds, that we had that. And we also were very fortunate our community passed a referendum, so we had that ESSER funds that wasn't backfilling just salaries and things like that. So we were able to leverage those funds, which was very fortunate for our
and
district.
just for the people listening too, it's not that we're not funding it.
But we have to fund it.
We have to fund it. The school district has to fund it. It's the state that is mandating this, that is saying, you have to do this by this timeline, but we're not giving you any money to do it.
That's right.
The other thing I just put out there is, so with a lot of this, we're putting the plans in place with the template, we're figuring out how we're gonna do this, but there is some people power, like ongoing people power that we have to figure out. So districts are gonna have to figure out, for example, who puts together every year the reading plans, the personalized reading plans, and updates those, communicates that out to the parents in the timeline that's required. There's a lot of new things that are just gonna take energy, ongoing, that we are having conversations about who's taking on those duties right now, so.
Well, it's like one of those things where we talked about, if you're gonna, we talk about budget, we just had this conversation earlier tonight, like, we talk about budget, well, we're gonna spend this money here, what's not gonna get, what aren't we gonna pay later? We're gonna spend this time here, what aren't we spending time on otherwise? Right, so, right,
It's a
so
lot of
there's
time.
other things that are gonna have to, that are gonna suffer because of that. And again, this is very important things, right, there's no question about it.
Number 8, DPI will establish a model policy for promotion from grades 3 to 4. We already have a promotion policy in place here in the school district of Lodi. We're just gonna have to take a look at the language that they are suggesting so that we're meeting what's paired with the legislative requirements. From my perspective, it's most likely to say something in the terms of, if you have a student who's already on a personalized reading plan and they haven't met their benchmark yet by the time they are exiting 3rd grade, moving to 4th grade, how do you account for that? What supports are you gonna put in place if you're moving that student from 3rd grade to 4th grade so they have ongoing support, and you're not just cutting it off after the end of 3rd grade? So that's probably the updates they're gonna look at. And then the 9th one is just, there's gonna be a lot of new annual deep reporting to the Department of Public Instruction around all this stuff, but that's why you guys have me, and I do that for all the new state and federal stuff anyway, so I will take care of that. Good news is that we are very much on track to meet the majority of these requirements.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so much.
All right, high school parent-student handbook.
Right, I mentioned earlier tonight that it's the time of year we start looking at next year. So one of the things we start looking at is school handbooks. So we have the high school handbook on the agenda tonight. We'll have the other school handbooks on the agenda for next month.
I just had a couple questions, Joe.
Yep.
So I just noticed, let's see. So, and I think you said that Adam might have said something, so the
Yes.
AI,
Yep.
is that never allowed?
Well, I received an email from
Adam's
Adam
getting a
today.
copy.
And there were some really good points that he had made, and I definitely agree with them. So we kind of had an introduction to AI by Tyler, I want to say at the beginning of this school year, just to learn a little bit about it. There is some apprehension about AI, especially with students and plagiarism and things like that. But I can also tell you, like, our last 6-12 meeting we had for social studies, all we did was we talked about how great AI is for a lot of things in teaching.
Yeah,
And also in learning, of course.
yeah.
So one of the things that he talked about in his email that he sent to actually Mr. Breinig and me is clarifying it a little bit more. And maybe talking about here's how AI can be used and here's how AI shouldn't be used. So that's something that I think that we can have a further discussion about, whether it's taken to the policy committee, to have that discussion.
Yeah, I just want that to be
and then
clear.
Yeah, and then include that in the handbook.
I just don't want a kid getting coded for something and they didn't even realize they're breaking, you know, if it's not clear in there, that would be devastating.
Right.
I would recommend it, the conversation, or my email back to Adam was, I would recommend it goes back to the curriculum committee, because we're talking about how are we using AI for instruction, right? And I think we talk about AI is not plagiarism. Plagiarism is, you know, taking somebody's information and saying it's your own. Well, AI is pulling from the web, right? But it can be used for academic misconduct. So having something under academic misconduct where we're spelling out when you can't use AI and when you can. The other issue we struggle with is, you know, with privacy, we can't put AI on student devices, and we can't have, because AI takes your information, your private information, and we're not gonna give our students private information to AI. But that being said, students are gonna access it on their own personal devices at home or other ways, right? So it creates an equity issue between those who have it and those who don't. But my recommendation would be take this back to the curriculum committee and have a future discussion next week on that, and tweak this and then bring it back to the.
I think
we are a month early, so we actually got this done at a committee of teachers that looked at the handbook, which was awesome. They saw a lot of things that we needed to change, so we can definitely bring it back next month with some more specific information about that. I think it'd be really beneficial to look at some of the other districts as well and see what.
I was gonna ask that, Joel, if we could find out from other districts how they're.
Yeah, everybody's in the same boat, it's all new.
I started this afternoon once it got on my radar, just to look at some surrounding districts. I found one so far, but I've only looked at 4, I think, that had something related to AI in their handbook.
And I think we can include the middle school in this conversation
Yeah,
as well,
we have to.
because they're gonna, they probably want it in their
I
handbook.
imagine next year you're gonna see a lot more though.
Yeah.
So I think my kids used to use Grammarly, or maybe it was just they used it in college.
Well,
Did they use it
spell
in
check.
high
That's
school?
AI, I mean.
That's
Maybe
AI.
did they use it in high school, or was it a college thing?
Well, there's students who use Grammarly right now.
I'd use Grammarly, I mean.
I just remember them
Spell
using
check,
that,
grammar.
but again, it could have,
Beginning of AI.
my kids are older now, but it could have been through college.
Very different than saying, write me a paper about this.
No, and I understand,
But-
yep, I
But
get.
that's what you literally can do now.
But
I think-
yes, I do know that, but is Grammarly then, does that fall under that AI?
That's policy.
That's something that we'll need to.
And is that something that the students have access to on their, I guess,
So
Chromebooks?
the kids are using Google Docs, and Grammarly's been built into Google Docs. It's part of it now, so,
Okay.
like it or not. It's part of
So
Bing, it's
is
part
it-
of
so is it-
Google searches. It's
Is
part of,
Grammarly AI?
yes, it's AI.
But I think you're looking
So-
at more of like the programs that will generate for you.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about
Right.
that, I'm talking about
subtle.
you've written your paper, and somehow they sent it to Grammarly, or somehow to check,
Edit.
not just punctuation and capitalization and all that, but just structure and,
Well, sure. But
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right, as you're typing the paper, it will see the grammar errors right away and help you correct them.
yeah, there's something.
So I
Now
think
it's
if we're gonna
built in.
take it, if we are gonna take it to the curriculum committee meeting, Adam, it would be beneficial if you could go to that one, just because you are pretty informed on this stuff. So, and anyone else, obviously, that has opinions and stuff, I mean, we should definitely, yeah, cause that's gonna be I think, a touchy subject.
No, that'd be great.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I have more stuff though, so if we wanna keep talking AI, we can.
Oh, no, it's not AI, it's
Okay.
just other stuff on the.
Okay, sorry,
on the-
real quick, I don't have it's all little stuff. So cell phones, you changed it a little bit, they can be used between classes or not?
They can be used, the only time they can't use them is instructional time, so they can use them in between classes,
Okay.
in the commons, in the hallways.
Okay.
And they can use them before school and after school.
Okay, perfect, that's kind of what I was hoping and thinking. And then, the cum laude thing, the fine arts, was fine arts always on there?
Fine arts, there was something related to fine arts.
Okay.
We wanted to give them more opportunities, so the
Okay.
number of semesters, whether it's, they get a half point for fine arts in chorus and band, they separated that. So now chorus and band can be separate, which we approved when we sent our course catalog over to the board
Okay.
a while ago, but, there's more opportunities.
Okay,
Which is
that's
another
nice.
discussion that actually Vince and I have had about the number of students that are getting to summa cum laude. So we're giving more opportunities. The number of kids that have gotten to summa cum laude has gone down over the last few years.
Okay.
So this year we have 5 students that are summa cum laude. I want to say last year was 5 students. So with more opportunities, we're hoping those numbers will come up a little bit.
So that's a district decision, and that's not just like I don't know, is there like a cum laude?
Cum laude?
Yeah, like.
So that's really a high
recommend it in our
school.
course catalog.
Yeah, so the high school meets and has a conversation about what classes, so high school staff decide what classes should be cum laude in.
Okay,
So
okay.
they have a discussion, and then it's proved as part of the course handbook. But we, as a district, went to the cum laude system, starting with the class of 2018. So we have to bring it in, right, it's a 4-year phase-in. So like the class, we had valedictorians up through
Yeah.
2017, but the class of 2018 was a cum laude system.
Which is, if you ask Sky Barron, it's a good method, because she still is like bitter about, we didn't have that, Mom. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
And her sister did.
Yeah, exactly.
So really the way to think about it is if you're trying to push students to achieve,
No, it's a great system.
right, which would, how are you gonna game the system? Well, in cum laude, you game the system by taking harder courses.
Yeah.
In a class rank system, you game the system by taking easy courses.
Yep.
Yes.
Right, and I will
That
say
was-
our students and
That's where her bitterness
adults,
comes from.
you'll hear this a lot, I mean, when I talk, is, students are like water, they will find the easiest way through high school, we let them.
Yeah.
And adults will do the same thing,
Yeah.
right? I'm given a task, I will find the easiest way unless I put some roadblocks on, or other people put roadblocks on it, that's just a normal thing, right? So our job as educators is to make sure our number one job is to prepare them for after high school.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we are challenging them.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember going to that meeting, and I didn't
Yep.
think it was a hard decision at all, I was very glad that you guys were doing that. Okay, so under student responsibility, second paragraph, the third sentence says Lodi School Board.
Number are you on?
On what page is that?
Well, your pages are wrong, Joe.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. When it got
Well-
converted to a PDF, it
Oh, I
jumped
missed
everything.
But what are you
And I
looking at
have,
here, Heather? What number?
Well, some of it's how it formats on this.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I just like to give
On
Joe.
Board Docs, it doesn't format.
I'm like, this is terrible.
Yes.
Like, I really like Joe's opening.
Yeah, my opening,
That opening is really nice too.
yeah, there's nothing there. That comes later. I
I'm
like to
just
keep
kidding.
people on,
I
you
know.
know, way too much here.
Where am
So I had 4 pages of like formatting stuff.
Yeah,
but
well, I know,
it's
but that's
because-
just the way it is.
I? No,
Okay.
I'm just,
Wait, it's
Okay.
different.
Then I
on the
will
website.
get rid of that.
Yeah.
Joe's gonna get mad at us pretty soon here.
I had something with the student responsibility as well.
Well, you can talk about it if you,
Well, no,
because I
it
don't
was-
know where mine exactly is.
It was, well, it says page 11.
Page at the bottom
Oh,
of the
sure.
page.
Student responsibility.
I got it.
Well, I'm looking at I'm just looking at the memo. So is this really if, can't will not be able to take flash photography, use the light on their cell phone, muted at all times, use headphones, I mean,
Bus.
is, on the bus?
Yes.
I mean, is this just if they're caught, then there's a repercussion? I mean, this is happening
So-
all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? I
Right.
mean, it's
So this was-
happening.
This was just based on a conversation we had with Cobuson at one of our PAC.
Okay.
meetings.
Yeah.
So, they are concerned about that, they're concerned about phones being too loud because it's a distraction.
Yep.
Obviously, the lights that you have on your phones that can be really bright can cause a
Right.
distraction to drivers.
Yep.
So we wanted to put something in our handbook that talked about some of those things. They have to use headphones, obviously you cannot take pictures or, Adam, you pointed
or
something about
use headphones. Yeah,
videotaping.
yeah, sorry.
Or use headphones.
Okay.
Videotape any student without their consent. They're seeing that happen more and more often, so we wanted to address it in our handbook.
Okay. I guess
No, I'm
who's
glad
mo-
about the no picture taking, I mean,
I mean, I guess who's
without
monitoring it then?
yeah.
Is it only if they're getting caught then?
Well,
that
when
it's-
we have issues with it.
When we have
If
Right,
there's
so-
an issues with it, right,
Okay.
we'll deal with it.
Okay.
And you'll have something.
But that,
to
it just
go
made
back
me
on.
think of, what was that policy?
Yep,
Remember with the cell phones? And we
yeah,
had-
yeah, we had the same
We're
conversation
just
with
like,
board
how do
policy.
we?
So it's written very similar to that
Okay.
policy, because we went back and looked at that policy at
Okay.
an administrative team
Okay.
level and had a conversation so that they align.
Okay.
The piece was like having kids, because we have kids who will play songs real loud, and music,
Right,
and
right,
trying to
right.
get kids' attention, so it was like, no, they need to use headphones if they're gonna do that, or they can share headphones,
Right.
or if you wanna share with a friend, but
Old lights.
quieting that stuff down.
Well, you got the earbuds
Nurse
now.
over there.
Now they're sharing their earwax.
This isn't even one of your highlighted things, I was just curious, I think it's about the locker searches.
Sure.
And it said that the Lodi School Board can do locker searches, did you mean district, or do you really mean like us coming in and?
So it comes from the district, and the board and the district are the same thing, right?
Okay.
We get from the district, so
Okay.
that's just the authority of which they act under when they search a
You would like to
locker.
come in.
No,
No, and that,
I
yeah,
don't wanna see.
I mean, I don't,
And then do you guys still have the parking hang tag things?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So it's just my sons that
As
didn't go in and get one?
As the weather
'Cause we
gets nicer,
paid, but-
Mr. Marshall tends to go out into the parking lot and check those a little bit more often,
Okay,
which is
so
kind of
maybe I
nice.
should tell them.
Because
to-
it's not, there are kids that do not purchase one of those and they get to park, and there are a lot of kids that do.
Yeah.
So it's a really, to be honest, it's a really good deal as far as the price
Oh,
of that.
yeah.
Parking in our parking lots.
No, I paid and I was just curious if the boys just have it
They just
thrown
haven't
in their
found their
backpack
sticker.
or something, so.
Yeah, they should
And
have
then the last thing, very small, LMC you changed, you took out, to access the writing center, is that?
Yeah, so we used to have during our intervention period a writing center, so there'd be teachers
yeah.
that would
Yeah.
go down. We don't have that currently. We're
Okay.
thinking about bringing it back, but
Okay.
we don't,
Nice.
it's not something that we have. Part of the problem, well, it's not a problem. Our teachers, because of our PLC work, so they meet in departments a lot more often than they used to.
Yeah.
They don't have as much time with their students during intervention. So to take another day away where you have to go away from the students that have something to do with your individual class that
Yeah.
you're teaching and going to a writing center, even though that's valuable, it's difficult for them to find
makes
the time.
sense.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're having our high school teachers do more and more during intervention period with PLCs and things.
Yeah.
We wanna make sure that they're meeting with their students as much as possible
Yes.
in their particular classes. So
Okay.
we haven't had that for the last couple of years.
All right, thanks,
So
Joe.
my only last one is on your memo, the 20 electronic communication devices, where it's being replaced with, it talks about, and this again goes back to that policy probably too. Cell phones and other personal devices can present constant distractions. Cell phones, smartwatches, and Fitbits, which is what I wear,
Yep.
and I'm sure a lot of other kids, laptops or other personal electronic devices are not allowed to be out. So are kids having to put their watches away?
So one of the biggest problems
That's
is
my-
they get, no, yes. So
And
they
it
get-
says this includes hallways and in bathrooms. So we
During
can't,
instructional time. Right, they're not supposed to.
So they can
Yeah.
have it out if they're not in.
Yes. So
Not
so are
in the
kids
classroom.
having to take their,
it was a long discussion that we had with staff, because what's happening is they're getting notifications on that. And when they get
true,
notifications.
mine's not a really fancy smart
Well, I
Apple
noticed
Watch
you're
or
looking at
anything,
your
mine's a
watch a lot
Fitbit.
during the
Mine's a
board
Fitbit.
meeting. But they do get notifications on those, so that was a discussion on whether we wanna say we need to take those away. More and more kids get them. Now, a lot of kids are wearing long sleeves, and sometimes we don't see those. They need to be out of sight, but it is a distraction. Even with cell phones, it was a difficult decision as far as I'm concerned, taking them out of lockers. Because you can still, if you're sitting there with a cell phone in your pocket, you might get 50 notifications during one block class period.
Are teachers
And
allowed when they come in the room, say, here's the box, put your cell phone in it?
So they can do something like that. We don't require our teachers to hold these very expensive cell phones, but we do tell them that it would make sense if they are going to the bathroom or they are going to the locker, they can leave a cell phone on the teacher's desk. And some teachers do that. So they felt like telling them they have to be in their lockers was kind of a big lie, because kids had them on their person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of them did.
I think you guys did the best method.
Well, and that's
So,
where we came
It's not
with the
perfect.
policy.
It's not
No.
perfect by any means. There are kids that have their phones out there.
I also feel like it has to be their responsibility too. If they're gonna start missing stuff, then,
Sure.
you know, but no, I think it's a great, it's actually enforceable and realistic,
Sure.
so.
Yeah, mine just came back, and I guess it just sort of goes back to that policy is, you know, who's monitoring it, who's,
Yeah.
And
that's a
considering you
lot,
guys-
that's a lot.
Right. Well, and considering you guys just went through a bunch of board policies over the last few
Oh
months, I
my
expected a lot of
Lord.
questions. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody should just have duct tape to put around their wrists when they go into classes.
Put that in the handbook.
Well, Joe,
There
thanks
we go.
for doing all that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it to the curriculum
Yes,
committee.
we'll need to table it.
AI.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, so then do we need
We
to
should
make a
table it.
motion? I'll make a motion to table the
Handbook.
high school handbook as discussed. And sent back to curriculum.
I'll second. Motion by Sarah, second by Christy. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, first reading, policies.
First reading
Oh,
policy.
you got policies? Oh, Adam's got one too?
So, as I was reviewing our policies with our consultant, I noticed that we were missing a policy in the 5,000 series that we did not review and make to the policy committee. The policy was PO 5112, entrance age. That was discovered after our last policy. I'm asking the board just to review that. It's a pretty straightforward policy. Instead of having to go through the policy committee, that way when the district moves to full adoption at the April meeting, it will be a part of that full adoption when we do a second reading and adoption in April. So I've included that, so if there's any questions about that. The policy committee also reviewed and unanimously moved forward to the full board with recommendation approval of 32 Neola administrative guidelines that are listed in board docs. As I kind of mentioned before, the plan will be to adopt the Neola policy book at the April meeting. Those policies become effective July 1st, 2024, and then rescind all our current policies effective July 2024 as well.
I just have some, I did check the legal state
You did.
statutes. There's
Did
just
you
a-
get any
There's
of
just a
them?
couple typo,
Okay,
like spacing issues
Again.
that bugged me.
I'm glad they bothered you. Maybe something's tough out.
So I have a bigger question about one of the policies. So it's 7544, the social media administrative guidelines for staff.
75, 44.
And there's nothing in the policy. So this was put together when social media became a thing. It's like we didn't have social media, and then we had social media. So we put together a policy. It's kind of, in my opinion, outdated now. Not Tyler just went through and fixed it all.
Is
That's
this
not
the
what I'm talking
Neola
about.
one?
This is this policy, wherever it came from.
No, this is ours.
This,
Okay.
yeah, and this is the one, remember, it's all it had all the social media, like Twitter is now X and all of that.
It's a bigger
that we-
question, though. It's a bigger question. So we now use, what do we use the?
Social schools for EDU.
Yes. So we now have a contractor that does this for us. So if this talks about if you want to represent the school district in social media, be careful, right? But now we have someone doing that for us. And so I would argue we could just rewrite this that says, if you want to go to represent the district, go through the official channels. If you want to have your own social media account, here's some cautionary tales, but you can have your own social media account. But it's not going to be a district account. It's going to be personal, right? And so it would just simplify this whole policy.
But what do
Think
you
of
do
that.
with like sports teams that have like Lodi girls softball or?
Right, but that's representing just that softball team, and that's it. They're not speaking for the district, they're speaking for that team.
But aren't they kind of speaking for the district
Sure.
because it's like an
Yeah.
extension of the
I
district?
would argue yes. And there will be cautionary tale in there for them. But
But
it
not
doesn't.
policy?
Right, in here, in the policy.
In the policy.
Well, no, this is a administrative guideline.
Right.
You're right.
But
This is the
this
guideline.
doesn't
This
say
is
anything
the
about our
procedure.
official thing either, and so I would like that entered in there. It's just a different way of thinking about it, yeah. Sorry, Tyler, because I know you went through the whole thing, so.
Tyler's like. Can we have Tyler and Adam for a little while at that meeting to take care of this one then?
You just have to be everywhere lately, Adam.
Or can Adam and Tyler
Come up with a new
powwow over
policy.
it and
I think you
Give it to
should
us, send
take
it to
it
us?
back to the committee then
Yes.
and look at it.
But I would like those two to be part of the discussion.
Just with a different frame of mind, that's all.
Right, and just, if you're talking about how it's being,
Yeah, I'm guessing it could be shortened for sure.
Yeah, here's the official
it was
channel. and
definitely
then
long.
Yeah.
The other stuff.
Take that one back?
do we need to make a motion to send it back or no, since it's first reading? No, okay. All right.
We're just doing our cleanup now.
Anyone else have anything else? Okay. And we don't have any second readings for policies.
Just wait,
It's killed.
it's coming.
All right, we have gifts and donations, and we have a nice list.
Big list. I'll make a motion to accept with great gratitude a donation of $1,000 from the Lodi Optimist Club for Heritage Park at the Lodi Primary School. Donation of $2,050 donated by honor of
Carson.
Carson Schmidlin.
Schmudlock.
Schmudlock.
Carson Schmudlock.
Thank you. For the LES OSC Playground, and a donation of $2,000 from Bill and Norma Jean Schmudlock in the memory of their son Carson, to be divided equally among the high school art department, fabrication lab, unified physical education, and special education departments, and a donation of 30 ukuleles, valued at approximately $1,590, to the elementary OSC music department from Arlene, using my phonics, Slazweddle. Slazweddle?
I'll second.
I know that. Ah, yes.
Motion by Adam, second by Sarah. Any more discussion?
30 ukuleles.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
This is gonna be cool.
Yes. I think we have to say aye.
Anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. I was getting
Can we
those.
get 30 ukuleles to come on stage at the PAC someday in the future?
It
Play
would
for
be
us?
fun.
Or maybe come and give us a
I would like to
demonstration of the
Learn
ukuleles.
to play a ukulele.
I'm not gonna say what I'm thinking.
It's getting late, it's getting late.
All right, our committee
I'm
reports.
sure at some point we will have them on stage, absolutely.
Great.
That's awesome.
CISA 5 representative.
Yes, we met and talked about the ability to move their pay increase. What are they gonna get for a pay increase? Their insurance went up about 7%, and then we approved a pay increase of 4.62 for all of their employees. And then we did Jeremy Beal's contract and his pay increase, and then we talked a ton about all kinds of things, but cybersecurity was the biggest one. And it's just unfathomable to me that in the old days when we built the internet and built all that stuff, we didn't have online cloud servers, and we stored everything on hard drives. And now schools are storing things on hard drives in a rotation so that they can't be hacked. Or if they are hacked, they have a hard drive backup. It's crazy.
I came across a floppy disk this weekend,
Yeah.
cleaning out my basement. I really did. The old floppy floppies,
Yeah.
not the.
The 8-inch ones?
Yeah, uh-huh.
That's what we talked about.
Interesting. All right, co-curricular items / reports.
Yes, lots of things happening. Wrestling, the Lodi wrestling team finished the season with a varsity dual record of 16 wins, 4 losses. The team traveled to Dodgeville High School on February 10th and took home the regional championship. On February 13th, the team headed to River Valley to compete in team sectionals. The team's season ended with a first-round loss to GET. 5 Lodi Wrestles advanced to individual state with Brady Dorshorst, Mason Lane, Ben LeChucky, and all taking home 4th place. Boys basketball, they finished their season with an overall record of 15 wins and 11 losses and a conference record of 4-4. The boys earned a 4 seed and hosted number 5 Prairie du Chien on Friday, March 1st, with the Blue Devils coming away with a 52-40 victory. Boys' season came to an end, unfortunately, on Saturday, March 2nd, with an 80-66 loss to number 1 Platteville. The girls' basketball team finished the season with an overall record of 9 wins, 16 losses, and a conference record of 2-8. The girls earned a number 9 seed in the WIAA playoffs and took on number 8 East Troy on February 20th, with the Blue Devils falling by a score of 50-35. The boys hockey co-op team finished the regular season with an overall record of 3-18, with a conference record of 1-6. They secured a number 13 seed in the WIAA playoffs, taking on Madison Memorial on February 13th, and losing by a score of 8-1 to finish the season. Girls hockey, the Icebergs co-op hockey team finished the regular season with an overall record of 3-19-1 and a conference record of 3-9. They secured a number 6 seed and took on number 3 Beaver Dam on Thursday, February 15th, with the girls co-op losing by a score of 5-0. The varsity mock trial team competed in the state tournament on March 1st and 2nd. The team achieved a 2-2 record with close performances against some of the top teams in the state. Elena Hatley, Kaylee Bannock, Tessa Pertzborn, and Caleb Ratzel all earned perfect scores. Caleb, as we heard earlier, also was recognized as one of the 10 best attorneys in the state. Forensics on February 19th. The forensics team competed in the WISDAA sub-district tournament. All members of the team earned the required scores to move on to the district tournament, and 15 students had perfect scores. And as we said earlier as well, the team is competing in the district tournament tonight in DeForest. And the spring play of Boeing Boeing held performances this past weekend. Congratulations to the cast and crew on a fantastic show.
I want to make a correction. I don't believe that's Ben LeChucky. That was probably Henry Keppen as the wrestling that took 4th place.
Oh,
He was-
okay.
Yeah, because Ben, I don't think, was in wrestling this year, so.
I didn't.
No, you didn't. I know, you didn't type it. It's not Sarah's fault.
I'll take the blame. I don't mind.
But thank you. And Adam, I never said thank you for your report, so thank you.
You're welcome.
OSC. Angie, were you able to get to?
I'm here. Nope, I got it. Okay, so OSC held, I think we talked about this before, but a signing event with the memo of understanding with the Ice Age Trail Alliance on February 2nd, becoming the first official Ice Age Trail designated campus. OSC students attended a winter burn at the Steamboat Prairie and a cedar tree clearing at the Ice Age Trail. They also traveled to the UW Geology Museum and the State Capitol building. This week they are headed to the Mackenzie Center for a tour and surf making. The enrollment window for OSC is February 15th through March 15th. Eric and Jen hosted the 2nd grade families for a future 3rd grader night in February to learn more about both options for 3rd grade. They have space for 31 openings for next year. OSC will be participating in Fine Arts Night with LES rather than hosting the musical this year. OSC Project Night is scheduled for May 9th and will be the culmination of this year's work with the Ice Age Trail. And OSC received a $5,000 donation from the grandparent of the student. So, that's
Awesome.
OSC.
Thank you. All right, our board committee reports. Personnel. Angie, we always do this. I always want to go to someone else and then me are.
Nope, give me 1 second, I have to switch my screen. Well, we talked a lot about what we talked about in closed session.
Probably everything. Was everything closed?
Yeah.
Support staff compensation.
Compensation, okay.
Support staff
So,
compensation.
we've been meeting, I have been meeting, so the support staff compensation committee meeting, committee has been meeting regularly, and I think we talked about this last time, and they're discussing items regarding the support staff, compensation tier system for salary, for hourly wages, as well as some other handbook issues that they brought to the attention of the committee. So they made some recommendations, and at the last personnel committee, we ran out of time before we looked at everything. But they had made a recommendation that some changes be made to the current tier system of support staff compensation. But in discussion with the committee, we actually asked Brent to make some changes to that model and then to have the committee meet again. It's partly because if we change the tier system and then at some point decided to get rid of the every 3-year tiers, then we would be needing to make, it'd be a lot more expensive if we did it twice. So we're actually reconvening the committee to talk about that again. So, and I think that's the only thing that we talked about other than what we talked about.
Thanks, Angie. All right, curriculum.
As Dr. Carls mentioned, we talked about the youth apprenticeship, and Connor Anderson came and he presented on that, and it was a really good opportunity to hear a lot about what we do here in Lodi and how we partner with CISA to accomplish that. Other districts might have like a more dedicated person on their staff that handles all of the paperwork and other background stuff, but we tap into CISA for that, which is great. And I'm actually meeting with them at where I work here at HM Repairs and Services in Lodi to have them come and tour the shop and then discuss how we can connect with them. So I would just encourage anybody listening that owns their own business here in Lodi, reach out to Connor, and the CISA 5 rep is coming as well. They have a day, I think a day a month dedicated to Lodi. Is that what it is that she comes out? And so I can't remember her name. Is her name Stephanie? Yeah, okay. So she's coming out, and I'm really looking forward to that discussion with them. It's just a way to partner with our district in that way. And then he also mentioned Jen Morgan came and gave an update, and that was fascinating because all of the different languages that are represented.
Was there 5?
Yeah, 7. Right. I have to go back and look too. But anyways, it was just fascinating, and she is a busy woman. So super thankful for all that she does for our district. And then we went over the winter benchmark assessment data. And if you look in our agenda online for our community, there is a link that you can see that summary there. And our future agenda items, we're having a library department report updates, world language department report, swimming unit review, and then the middle school ELA update.
And AI now.
And AI now. Yes, we've added that, which I'm very excited to have that discussion.
Thank you. Facility and finance.
Facility and Finance Committee met last Wednesday. Myself, Adam, Sarah, Vince, and Brent. We talked about a number of different items, and I'll try to summarize that here in my report. First thing that we talked about was the roofing projects, and in particular the elementary school roofing project, where we got some unfortunate news. The scope of work and with the inflation and prices going up, we've come to realize that we're going to have a significant shortage on the amount of funds that have been allocated through the referendum and what the potential actual cost of the roofing project at the elementary school would be. The news prompted a meeting that will be held next Tuesday, I believe at 4:30, which I would encourage current and prospective board members to consider attending, because what the board eventually decides to do with regards to this project has implications not only for the remaining projects that we want to try to accomplish with the referendum funds, but down the road. The amount allocated in the referendum to do the roofing project at the elementary school was approximately $2 million. And the current cost/estimate is approximately $4 million. So it's $2 million that we don't have. Something we'll have to prioritize moving forward what we want to do for those projects, or determine what the scope of the work is that the board wants to have done. We talked about the social school for EDU contract. Quickly there, we agreed to a 3-year contract. We did that because there's going to be a cost savings to the district of approximately $1,500 by agreeing to a 3-year contract as opposed to doing this yearly. The average monthly reach of the, I guess this would this be the Facebook page for the school?
Correct.
Facebook, Twitter, yeah.
In Facebook, Twitter, in November of 2021, the average monthly reach was 11,679. The November of 23 reach was 74,100. So trying to get the message out on social networking. School fees, we already talked about that in the agenda tonight. ESSER funds, briefly, the district from ESSER 3 had $95,106 remaining unspent. And because there are timelines with getting the receipts turned in, it was recommended to the committee that we act on this fairly quickly so that we don't lose that funding opportunity. So we decided to use the remaining ESSER funds for paying substitute teachers. And that will account for our ESSER 3 funding, which was a total of $863,406 that the district got. And then finally, we had a discussion, or Brent gave us oversight, review of the recently completed audit. Fund 10, which is a general fund, Fund 40, which is a capital projects fund, Fund 50, which is food service. Of those 3 funds, only the food service, Fund 50, had a slight deficit, which prompted what we talked about with the fees tonight. That was our meeting, and again, I would highly encourage anybody who's interested, in particular current board members, because this will be an item that comes to the full board at some point. We're going to have professionals in for that meeting to give us some options and alternatives and just some considerations. So my understanding is that is what the meeting will be next Tuesday regarding the roof, to have some professional people come in and let us know what the options are, because again, the decision there has a lot of implications moving
When is that
moving
again?
forward.
19.
Next Tuesday.
4:30 next Tuesday.
And will that be
19th.
here in this room then?
Here.
or- Okay, this room.
And it's got a hard stop at 6, because our facility and finance meetings tend to go
Yes.
over. We have a hard stop at 6. So it'll be an hour and a half.
Thank you, Scott. Policy.
Well, we talked about policy. We're just about rolling to the end, and now we have our administrative guidelines for the administration guidelines for staff on social media that we will be kicking around next time, and we'll invite
I think there's only 20.
There's other policies now to look at, so we are now to the point where, right, so we've held off on the updates. So
Yes,
now
we
there's
have.
updates to
That's
policies
what I
that
was
we'll
gonna
start
ask.
looking at, so there's like 20 of them to look at, so. Yeah,
Can we still make our April deadline?
yeah, and we'll continue to do updates all the way through.
Right.
So,
We
yes,
can do that.
absolutely.
Okay,
But there's only 20 administrative guidelines.
right, that's true.
Mo's got it out. I'll be
They're
printing
just,
tomorrow.
they're not administrative guidelines, they're just updates for the
Oh.
policies that we have
Oh,
in
are
place.
They're updates,
Mhm, we're
yeah.
done
We got
with-
through all the administrative
We're done,
guidelines? Oh, well,
This
never
will
Except for
mind.
the one we
probably
get
be
kicked
our,
back.
our biggest kind of probably rewrite is the one that we brought up tonight,
Yeah, yeah.
to get the wording all happy,
All right, thank you.
so.
Good stuff. All right, so our future meetings and agenda items. So our next regular school board meeting will be Monday, April 8th at 5:30 PM for closed session, 6:30 is open session. We have a special board meeting, board reorganization, Monday, April 22nd. Some of us are leaving us. So Monday, April 22nd at 5:30. Our curriculum committee meeting is Wednesday, March 20th at 4:30. Policy committee meeting is Wednesday, March 20th at 6. Our facility and finance committee meeting is Wednesday, April 3rd at 6 o'clock. And then our personnel committee meeting is Wednesday, April 3rd at 4:30. But remember, we do have that facility and finance committee, I guess, special meeting basically next week, Tuesday. And that's when we hear about our roofing options. So, board members, do not hate me. I do want to go back into closed session for like 2 minutes, I promise. It will not be long. And and I promise I don't want people need to talk to anybody up here, but I just want to discuss something really quick. And then we'll go home, okay? So I'd like to make a motion to go back into closed session. Roll call. Scott?
Someone's gotta make a motion.
I'll make
I
a
made the
full
motion.
motion.
Can she make?
You have to make the full motion.
That's right. Hold on.
You want me to just do it?
Yes, if you have it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.8.
Yeah.
1C F
No,
G
no.
to consider
And we'll
financial,
definitely get you
medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary
Advice,
data
I
of
promise.
specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems with investigation of charges against specific persons, except where par B applies, which, if discussed in public, likely to have substantial adverse effects upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations, and to consider employment and compensation and performance evaluation data of administrators, teachers, support staff, coaches, crew.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Christie, second by Sarah. Roll call. Sarah?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
We are in closed session. Motion passes
Bye, you
7-0.
guys.
Thank you, guys.